everybody. Today we're gonna do a 9 square pillow. Oops. This is a great project for somebody who is a beginner. And this is actually a project that was the first thing I ever learned. So let's get started. So if you don't already have a straight edge, and cotton is preferred, what you can do is take one of your edges and maybe snip it an inch down from the top, just like that. And this is my favorite part. You just rip it, and you got a nice, clean, straight edge. So now, for this project, what we want to do is, you can decide if you want to do one solid color, or you can do 2 colors. Chose this nice, pretty pink color to go with this cool pattern. So what we're going to do first, I'm going to do the back part. That's the easiest part because it's just one solid piece. You need a 16 by 16 piece. You're going to take your ruler. Get it, there we go. Like that. Measure 16 inches from edge to edge. And then, whoop, my pen. All right. So you'll start from this nice clean edge over here and measure 16 inches. And just a nice small mark would be good. And since it's cotton, we'll do the same snip and rip method. Like down an inch. Oops. Inch and rip. Discard everything. And now what we want to do is smooth out those edges, make it nice and flat. Now what we're going to do is measure from this edge all the way down, also 16 inches. Your ruler. And then measure. There we go. Edge, edge. 16 inches. And if you can see that mark right there, we're going to snip and rip. Snip and rip. Now you got the back piece. Simple, yay! Pull that up, set it aside. Now we're going to work on the 9 squares. So since we did all that snipping and ripping, we got nice clean edges, nice clean straight edges. Now we want these squares to be 6 by 6. So we're going to take our ruler again. There we go, there's our corner edge. From the corner edge, we're going to measure down from the corner 6 inches. Just a little mark there. And then from the top corner this way, we're going to also measure 6 inches. So we're going to snip that down an inch, snip that corner an inch, and then we're just going to do the rest of it. We're just going to snip and rip all the way down. So now, smooth that out, make it nice and flat. And then from the top side that we just snipped right here, we're gonna rip that. We got one square so far. Now that we got this nice strip of fabric, we're just gonna keep going from the corner. From the corner down, we're gonna measure 6 inches. 6 inches, corner to corner. Mark 6 inches. And from that mark, we're going to mark 6 inches. Snip. And snip that mark. Oop, rip. And rip. So now we just completed cutting out 3 already. And what we want with the 9 square pillow is, if you're going to do 2 different colors, you want 5 colors of one and then 4 colors of the coordinating color. Or you can do 9 of the whole, 9 of the same color too. So that's your choice. Always your choice. Now, let's do one more. I'm just going to cut that at 6 inches. Rip and snip. Now we have 4, which means we'll set that aside and take our second color. And we'll do 5 6 by 6 squares of this color. Right. Quite a bit of this fabric. All right. So I will say that if you don't actually have cotton fabric, and you really can't, cotton is usually the really good fabric to rip and snip, like this technique that I've been doing. But if you don't have cotton, you can literally just, since it's already folded into, you can always just cut a 6 by 6 and you get 2, and it goes a lot faster too, especially if you fold it twice. So now you get 4 layers of fabric. So let's try that one. So we're going to measure from the corner the 6 by 6. Just corner to corner, and you can even draw on it. Like that, 6 by 6. Make a nice 6 by 6 square. And you can also, to save time, make a paper pattern that's 6 by 6 square. See that on the screen? Right there. Okay. Cool. So now all you gotta do is just around. Square. Oop, I'm off the screen here. And again. And the other side. Cool. So now you got 4 pieces, and all you need, set that aside, is 1 more piece. Come on. Right. All right, so that looks like it would be good. So 6. Same thing again. 6. 6 by 6. And then just line. Make a nice square. Almost done. Almost done. And one more side, almost done. Oh, all right. So now we got the cutting part all done. That should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of one color, 1, 2, 3, and 4 of another color, and your back side of the pillow. So yes, let's go to the sewing station and sew our pillow. This is gonna be great, guys. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take, since there's 5 of this color and only 4 of this color, we're gonna start our project, the first row, starting with the pink color, and then we're gonna do this color and then another pink square. Yeah. So it's going to be pink, pattern, and pink. So first what we're going to do is set aside one of our pink pieces. And we're actually going to match the corners, corner to corner, corner to corner, like that. Corner to corner, and pin it, just like that. Make sure our edges are flush against each other. And we're going to pin the middle, and then we're going to pin the end right there. All right. Actually, and I'm going to use black thread. You should really use a coordinating color or matching color for your project, but I'm only using black just so that you can actually see exactly what I'm doing. So what we want to do is we're going to do a 4/8 or 1/2 inch seam allowance. And a trick here is you never want to start your project right at the top of your edge. You want to start it maybe just 1/8 inch from your top of your edge. And then you want to start with your needle down into your project. And then you just press your foot down. And this just keeps the little threads from bunching up, flying away, creating a havoc on your project. So you're gonna just steady as she goes, and then forward once, twice, back, and then forward. Just keep going, just keep sewing. And then I will say, when you pin things, you want to make sure that you take the pin out before it gets to the sewing machine needle, so you don't break the needle, sewing machine needle. So just keep going, steady as she goes. Take the pin out and hold it like so. And just before you get to the end, you're gonna back stitch, forward stitch, couple of stitches, raise the foot, and then where is it? All right, and then you just make sure you snip the edge like that. Right. So there is, oops, and also don't forget to snip the end where you started. All right, so now what we're going to do is, got some hairs there too. We're going to take our other pink piece and we're going to sew that. So we have pink, pattern, pink. So we're going to match the corners. So if you see it's going in this direction, you want to match the corners and the edge. Just like that, and pin it. Ouch. Match the corners. And the edge, and pin. All right. So now we'll do the same thing that we did for the last one. 1/2 of an inch. And then you'll start with your needle down into your project, 1/8 of an inch from the top of your project, and pull the first pin out so you don't break the sewing machine needle. Go forward a couple of stitches, go back a couple of stitches, and then just straight stitch. Pull out the needle. All right, so now pull it out, and then just snip the ends like that. Snip the other end. Whoa. Like that. All right. Well, we just completed our first row. So now we're on to the second row. String here. 2 more rows, guys. All right. So for the second row, we're going to want 2 of these and only 1 of these colors. So that'll be just like that. So we can set aside our first row, put that work in front of us. We're going to do the same thing again. Good practice, guys. This is great for any new sewers, especially if they need to learn how to sew straight and learn how to control their projects. And go at your own pace. This is not a race. We're doing good, guys. So match your edges just like that, like we did before. Keep going. And then, oops, match the edge just like that. And pin it. And don't worry if you accidentally cut a piece that's too big. You can always just match it up to the other piece. Let's go this way. Right. So from 1/2 of an inch seam allowance, and then 1/8 of an inch from the top, needle starting down, pull out the pin and a couple of stitches forward, couple of stitches back, and then just go. Keep going. And then just before you get to the edge of the piece, you're going to go stop, and then you're going to go a couple stitches back, couple stitches forward, raise the needle, raise the foot, pull it out, trim the edges, trim the other, oop, thread, and thread. Okay. Let's see, where's the other one? All right, so we're going to grab another patterned piece, and we're going to sew that. Oop, did I grab two? No, I grabbed one. All right, so we're going to do the same thing once again. Match the corner, match the edge, pin the corner, pin somewhere in the middle, like that. Keep going. Oops. Okay. All right, and then pin the other corner. And you guessed it, do the same thing. 1/2 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch from the top. Pull out the pin. Oops. Put it down and forward, a couple stitches back. Right. Pull out the pin. Pull out the pin. And really slowly down. We've got one more row, guys. This is almost done. Trim. Always remember to trim your threads, even if it is on the inside. All right, so there's the other row. Let's put that aside. And then the last row is exactly the same as the first row. So we're going to do 2 pink squares and 1 pattern square. So let's take one of our pink squares aside. Match the corner again. Match the corner. Make sure that their edges are flush against each other. Pin the corner. Flatten it out nice and smooth. pin the middle, flat it out, keep it flush with each other, pin the other end. All right. Once more with feeling, we're going to do the same thing as we did before. 1/8 of an inch from the top edge, 1/2 of an inch seam allowance, put our sewing machine needle down into our project and pull our first pin out. Couple of stitches forward, back stitch a couple of stitches, and then sometimes, all right, there we go. Keep going, and just before you get to the edge, steady as she goes, down, back stitch a couple of stitches, forward stitch a couple of stitches, and then sometimes you have to, if it gets stuck, you just kind of have to jiggle the sewing machine a little bit, or the sewing machine needle a little bit to release those threads. You just clip, and clip. One more piece. We're almost there. Where is it? Okay, here is another. There's not a piece. Oh, there it is. All right. So now, keeping that nice and straight, corner, again, flush with the edge, corner, edge. And you want to also make sure that your top edge, flush, corner, and side edge are flush. And then pin the edge, middle, and there you go. And the corner, last corner. All right. All right. Now, same thing again. About 1/8 of an inch from the top down, 1/2 of an inch seam allowance. Put your sewing machine needle down into your project before you start sewing. Take your first pin out. And then when you end the project, make sure your needle is up all the way. The sewing machine needle is up all the way. And again, just clip as close to the edge as you can. Clip the other side. Now we have 3 rows. All right, so here comes the fun part. We are going to take, let's just start with this one since the first and the last row are the same. We're going to take our second row, which is pattern, pink pattern. And we're going to do the same, it's literally the same technique where you match the edges, but for this instance, what you're going to do is you're going to make sure that this seam here matches this seam here. And then the second thing you have to worry about is matching the edges right here. So it has to match here on the top edge and match the seam. And one of the techniques that you can do is to pin it down is you take your pin and you stick it into the seam where you stitched it on one side. And then you'll flip it over just so you can see what you're going to do on the other side. So if it actually goes in, matching this the seam allowance, then you can actually, sometimes it's not always perfect, but it's a really good technique that you can perfect as you get better, and I know you will. Like I said, this is great. This is a great beginner project, and this is where I actually first started out working. This is how I first started learning how to sew, is making this specific pillow. So you guys are off to a great start already. All right, so we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna stick it in that seam. Let's see if I can get it. You can see that seam here. Stick it in the seam with the pin. Does it come out on the other side, matching the other seam? If it does, yay, you did it. Oops, let go. All right, do that. And then make sure you're sticking it into the seam again, and it sticks into the seam again. So let me try that one more time. So stick it into the seam. Make sure it sticks into the other side of the seam on the other side. Bring it down, through, and as close to the other seam as you can get it. So there we have just matched both seams of our first and second row. And just like we were doing before, we're going to match the edges nice and flush and pin it. Same thing. All right, and just like that. Oops, I forgot one part. Need to put a pin in the middle. There we go. Now we're nice and straight and ready to sew our first and second row. And same thing as we've been doing before. 1/8 of an inch from the edge, top edge, 1/2 inch seam allowance. Put your foot down. Put the sewing machine needle down into your work before you start sewing so your threads don't bunch and fly all over the place. A couple stitches forward as slow as you can. This is not a race, remember. A couple stitches back. And then just go at your own pace. 1/2 inch. This one gets a little bit tricky, so you just kind of have to hold that down a little bit. Take your pin out. Hold it down. Steady as she goes. Take your pin out. Keep going and go. There you go. Nearly there. That. And then just before you get to the edge, you want to slow down just a little bit. Back stitch a couple of stitches. Forward stitch a couple of stitches and lift the needle. And pull out your project. All right. All right, so last but not least, and I will say right now, I think sometimes you can get pretty uneven, even if you do have a pattern sometimes. So what we can do to rectify that, since it looks like this is probably the worst side here. So all we gotta do is just clip it. And then you can also fold it in half, just so you make sure that all your pieces are gonna sit correctly. So even professionals can make mistakes, like I just did. So don't feel bad if you make a mistake. You know what? No, there's no such thing as mistakes. Happy accidents, as Bob Ross would say. All right. So I think this one kind of got a little off as well. We're just going to match the edge, match the other edge. And it looks like, yeah, looks like this is the edge that needs to be fixed here. And we're just going to cut straight across. It's okay to make mistakes. All right. Maybe just a tiny bit on this side. So yeah, not too bad. Clip, 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 clip. All right. Let's see if I can do this next part pretty fast. Oh yeah. All right. So now we got our 2 rows here. And we're going to do the same thing for the last row, guys. We're almost done. Pin. I'm just going to do this way. I don't do corner, edge, pin that, pin that. Pin the middle, pin the corner. Ooh, pin, okay, cool. All right. All right, half an inch down, half an inch seam allowance, quarter of an inch from your work, put the pin down, pull the pins out. Make sure sometimes you can kind of get away with that a little bit with the folded edge where it kind of wants to lift up on you, but you kind of just have to smooth it down. And then all right, now pull it out. Remember to snip those little edges. And now for the easy part, the back piece. Just like what we've been doing before, just want to make sure you match the corner. Make sure the edges are nice and flush. And then match the corner to that. So we're going to do that. Let's do that. Corner. Pin. Just pin all the way around. All right, so we got the first side pinned. And we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna pin all that down. But in my case, I'm just gonna pin in some areas since you don't have to worry about matching the edges to anything, as long as you match the corners and the edges. Make sure that's nice and flat and pin it. To the other side. Now see here too, again, here we have another little, not mistake, happy accident. We just want to trim that off. So we got a nice clean cut, clean edge. Do the same with that one. There. Never be too upset if you make it a happy little accident. It's always a way to do something, and you'll get better as you go. So pin. All right, pin, ouch. Pin, all right. So then we have 3 corners. We got the top or the side pinned, the top pinned, and the other side pinned. But if we rotate this, we want to leave an opening. So you can do, with this project, you can do a 14 by 14 pillow insert, or you can actually use just regular polyester, polyfiber stuffing to stuff it in there. For the 14 by 14 insert, you want to leave maybe at least that much, at least 14-inch opening for your insert. But versus the stuffing, you can actually stitch all the way around and stitch from, actually it'll be easier to see from this side. So you want to stitch all of this and stitch all of that. And then hand sew the opening. So let's see if I can get this sewn in the next minute. Let's see. Start. If you can see, you'll start from this junction. Do the same thing you did before. Needle down in your work. Stitches forward, stitches back. Pull your pin out. Now here is a good example. Here, this is a new skill that we're going to learn. It's called the point and pivot. So you kind of want to get it, and it takes a little bit of practice, but you want to make sure it's at the corner just before you get to the edge, and you also want to keep that 1/2 inch seam allowance. So we're a little bit too far away from that 1/4 of an inch. Turn around. Looks like we're there. Keep your edge on the 1/2 of an inch. Keep going. This side will actually go all the way down. Sometimes you have to kind of like play with the fabric a little bit if it doesn't behave. Pull it out. All right, slow as she goes. We're going to do the other corner. I think that's probably about it right there. Maybe, nope. See? What? All right. Sometimes just takes a little finesse. Oh, almost there. One more. And we got it. All right, cool. Keep on frozen. Keep on frozen. Get to the end here. Slow as she goes. Maybe that might be where we need it. Oh, pretty close. Not too shabby. Oh, those pins. Remember when I said pull out your pins? Sometimes I forget to pull out my pins, but yeah, always remember to pull out your pins when you sew. All right, is this the end? No, not quite yet. Almost there, almost there. Slow, slow, slow. All right, I think that's about where we need it. Yep, there we go. And then now this is the end, this is the bottom part. So we're gonna wanna make sure we go all the way down just to this part. So we have a little opening for stuffing, or like I said before, if you're gonna use an insert, you just wanna only go to maybe like an inch from the corner, from either corner, so that you have enough room to put your little pillow insert. This is where we want to stop here. Pull it out. Snip the ends. Did we not slip? Oh, we didn't snip the other end either. There we go. Always remember to do that. All right. And then all you need to do, I usually just go through the hole and stick my hand right in the hole. I go from corner. You can also, to get these nice clean magnetic pin, you want to clip, if you see the corner where you stitched, you want to make sure you're at least maybe 1/8 of an inch above, and you want to clip that. You want to make this small amount of fabric in the corner as possible to get that nice sharp edge. So it kind of looks like that. Do that for the other ends. But here I'm going to show you. Just stick your hand in the hole, go to that corner that we just clipped, and I kind of like stick my finger in there a little bit. And you're going to like, you want to push it through. And I kind of pinch the corner, and then you just grab all of that so it's right sides out. All right, so I'll stick my hand in the hole. Let me actually, again, to this other, kind of like poke my finger station so you can actually see what I did. Poke your fingers. Bear with me. Kind of grab the corners, push the corners with your fingers so you get a nice crisp edge. See that? That's another corner. Poke your finger through. Get a nice edge. I think that's pretty much it. Then all you want to do is iron that. Look at that, isn't that cool? It's so simple, so easy, and you get like really good practice at doing sewing corners, sewing straight lines. This is great because like this is how you get really good at sewing straight lines. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this and you know, have at it and keep on growing as a crafter. So